Hey everybody, we've all run into the same problem when making prints. We've carved our block, we're so excited to print it, and as soon as we pull that first print and the anticipation is killing us to see what it looks like, we notice that we printed the text in reverse after all that work and all that time. Or even worse, our registration colors don't line up, and so our print is horribly off register. I think these problems are kind of like a rite of passage for all printmakers. These problems are really easy to overcome if you're using flats to transfer your images to the block. In this video, I'm going to show you what flats are, how to use them to transfer your master drawing to the wood block, and I'm going to give you some guidelines when making flats to make sure that they work best for you. Here I have my drawing and I have my finished print. The first thing you're going to notice when you look at both of these is that they are the same size. The drawing, the final sketch that I did is the same size as my printing paper. I've also made my flats the same size as the final sketch and the print. A flat is something I consider to be a bridge between your sketch and your print. It's really what helps us move the sketch onto the wood block and then to the printed paper. You would register your flat into your registration, whether it's built into the block or whatever system you're using. And then you would slip a sheet of carbon paper underneath the flat between the block and the flat, and then you would trace the flat, and then of course the carbon paper would reproduce your line drawing onto the block. You'll notice on my flat I have the word top written, and the reason I have the word top written on all of my flats is to make sure I'm putting it down the right way. Okay, so I've written the word top, and I've written it so I can see it when the image is facing me. When I take this image and I want to transfer the key image, the key drawing to the block, I want to make sure it's in reverse because it's going to print in reverse. So I make sure that when I transfer this to the block, that I flip the sheet over so it's in reverse. If top is in reverse, I know that when I plop this flat down onto the block, I'm going to be transferring my drawing the correct way. The way you make your flats is you start with a translucent sheet of paper. You can use tracing paper for this. However, I like to use something a little bit more durable, like Duralar or acetate. The reason is because tracing paper can get a little wrinkly, and sometimes the more you use it, the more you handle it, you may not actually accurately transfer your drawing to the block. I love this Duralar because you can handle it over and over again, and it's not going to wrinkle or distort the image at all. It's going to stay perfectly flat. You would place the Duralar over your image, and you would use a marker to trace the image onto the flat. The next flat I'm going to make is this yellow color right here, right? This mid yellow color. So I would put my flat on top, and as you can see, I have colored in just the yellow portions of this master sketch here. That's all I've done, not the key drawing, just the yellow portions. So when you line them up together, you can see the key block and the yellow portions. And then lastly, I did the blue, the background. So I take my third flat and just repeat the same process. When you have your 3 or all of your flats for each color of your master sketch, they should line up completely. This is how you know that they're all on register right. So you can take a really close look here. And at this point, you should be able to see if any part of your drawing is off register just by looking at the flats. And that is one reason it's so important to have your flats the same size as your master sketch. I could take any of these flats, put it on top of my master print, and I can see how everything, all the shapes just fall into the exact right spot. Now, how to transfer your drawing onto the wood block or the lino cut block with your flats. The first thing I do is I carve the registration first. And in the case of woodblock printing, the registration is built directly into the block. The way it essentially works is I would take the flat, flip it over, so top reads backwards. Again, that's how I know I'm looking at the reverse. And I register it directly by placing the corner into the bottom right hand registration mark and then tilting the left side of the paper until it butts up against my secondary registration point. All right. And again, now that I know that I'm looking at the reverse, I can tape this down, slide some carbon paper underneath, and go ahead and trace my image onto the block. The sheet that I locked into the registration for this demonstration is my blue background color flat. However, I've locked it into registration on top of my key block carving. And as you can see, just like the master sketch, just like the finished print, and just like the other two flats, these blue solid background shapes are lining up exactly with my key block carving. So that is why, again, it's so important to make sure that your flats are the same shape as your printing paper and your initial sketch, because you can cross-reference each flat. This is the blue solid sheet flat against the key block. Let's see what it looks like against my yellow block. So again, taking the flat, locking it into place just really quick. And you can see blue is lined up right against the solid yellow. So that's why I love working with translucent sheets like acetate and Duralar more than tracing paper, because it's so easy to cross-reference your flats. So that's everything you need to know about making flats for your master sketch and transferring them onto the woodblock print. What I want you to do is purchase some of that Duralar paper in pad form if you haven't already, if you don't have any on hand, because I truly think it's the best substrate you can use in lieu of tracing paper or acetate to transfer your drawings and make sure they come out right. Don't forget to cut your flats down to the same size as your master sketch and your printing paper. And please subscribe to this channel if you find this information useful, and even better, share it with your friends. Thank you so much, and here's to the love of making prints.